Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. The holidays can be an expensive time, but with so many affordability concerns, how can you celebrate without breaking the bank? We'll look at ways to keep your holiday budget in check. And Canada has no shortage of places to explore, but what are some of the best hidden gems across the country? We'll take a look at all the can't-miss destinations for your winter travels. I'm Amy Bell in for Michelle Elliott, and this is BC Today. And thank you for joining us on radio, TV, and live stream. You can call us now on our top story. How do you keep your holiday budget in check? Our number, of course, is 604-669-3733. You can also call us at 1-800-825-5950 or hit pound 690. You can also email us bctoday@cbc.ca. And the weather outside may be frightful, but that just means we are closer to the holidays, where you'll be spending money on food, gifts, and travel, to name a few. But given that food inflation and the cost of living are on the rise, it can be tough to manage your finances throughout the holidays so you don't end up with empty pockets in the new year. So we want to hear from you. How do you budget and save for the holiday season? How do you avoid that dreaded holiday debt? Call us now. Just hit pound 690 on your cell phone. You can call 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. That's 604-669-3733. And you can email bctoday@cbc.ca or leave a comment on our TikTok Live. And joining us now is Justin Manning. He's a financial advisor based in Metro Vancouver. Good afternoon to you. Thanks for joining the show.
Hi, Amy. Thanks.
So, Justin, what do we know about how British Columbians are approaching this holiday season?
Overwhelmed, stressful, anxious. A lot of those come up for a lot of people, and just not often talked about. People just kind of carry on status quo.
And are you having these sort of discussions, with people sort of in terms of how they plan, and are they feeling that sort of that stress and that pinch a little bit more acutely this year?
Yeah, and it's not just this year. It's all the time.
Yeah.
And this is a behavioral change conversation that doesn't typically happen overnight. And planning and talking about it is sort of the first step.
And it is tough to sort of watch your budget during this almost this frenzy of the season. There's gift buying, there's opportunities to go out. There just seems to be these mounting costs. What do you say to people in terms of sort of prioritizing where they should, perhaps allot some funds, where they really need to cut back?
A lot of people cringe at the B word, the budget word.
Yes, they do.
I personally, myself, I'm a big fan of the reverse budget, or paying yourself first. So that makes, when your paycheck comes in, that you allocate paying yourself first. So your savings, your needs, and essentially when you do it that way, everything that's left over is quote unquote fun money that's able to be spent, versus what a lot of people do, which is money comes in and they spend, and then afterwards they feel like they can't take care of themselves and they can't save and they can't invest. And so I'm a big fan of the reverse budget, but for those who do like an actual budget, I have my own holiday budget worksheet. And there's also a great app out there called You Need a Budget. They offer a 34-day free trial. So there's different approaches for different people.
Okay. Justin, we do have a call that's come in. I want to get to it. It's from Maureen in Penticton. Hi, Maureen. Thanks for calling BC Today.
Hi, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you.
I'm having a hard time.
Okay.
I'm a senior on a fixed income. And you used to be able to fly to Vancouver and back relatively cheap. And I was thinking of going down. It was going to cost me $500 to go down and back.
And you're calling in from Penticton? Is that where you would be flying into?
Yeah, to Vancouver.
Right, okay.
I'm calling from Penticton to Vancouver. They've cut back on the flights. The buses, I was going to have to leave at 6:45 in the morning, and I was going to get there at 7 at night. I was going to have to transfer 3 times. And you used to be able to go relatively cheap by bus, and it's not cheap anymore.
No, it certainly
Since
isn't.
Greyhound left. And I'm staying home. And I've cut back on the gifts. And my daughter has too. I sent her money, and she said, just fill the stockings for the kids. But I'm telling you, the transportation is getting so expensive.
It certainly
that
is.
I'm not going.
I don't blame you. Maureen, thank you so much for calling in. And Justin, I think Maureen's call really does highlight what a lot of people are facing is just the affordability in all aspects of life really coming to a head during the holiday season, where a lot of the traditions that they typically have are going to have to be put on pause this year as they just are too expensive. When it comes to sort of budgeting for the holidays, where can people look to be saving money? Is it really doing your due diligence and finding discounts and sales that keep an eye on, or what do you recommend for people?
That's part of it. And then another big part of it too is starting, I know it sounds maybe extreme, but starting at the beginning of the year, starting in January, and figuring out, do you need to set aside a quote unquote sinking fund where you're putting money towards a specific need at a specific time. And by the end of the year, you've accumulated some funds in order to make these decisions. But I completely empathize with Maureen. That's it, the cost of travel. It's difficult, especially when all we want to do is be with family. So potentially, I know it's not the same, not even close, but if it's possible to have some type of an interaction with Maureen and her family online using video platforms, that might be a suggestion.
When we look at British Columbians, typically, what would you say an average British Columbian might be putting, on credit cards during the holiday season? I know we always try to buy, within our means, but it seems like in December or the lead up to the holidays, that's when people sort of give themselves a free pass and put it on the credit card and sort of will deal with that later. What do we typically see in terms of the rest of the year? How much more are people putting on their credit cards during the holiday season?
The holiday season adds up fast, not only with gifts, but as you mentioned at the beginning, going out, all the things that are involved with gifts, wrapping paper, tape, all that stuff can add up. You're looking at around $1,000.
It is a lot of money, and I'm sure for some people hearing $1,000, they're like, way more than I typically go. But I think a lot of people would hear $1,000 and think that's nothing compared to what I spend. We do see a lot of very dramatic, sort of whimsical spending over the holidays. I do have another call that's coming, Justin, from Stephen in Vernon. Hi, Stephen.
Hi.
What are you doing for holiday budgets this year?
Well, food, I'm buying food like completely normal. Nothing changes there until the actual holidays. And my number one thing, presents-wise, forget the trends. Buy people socks. Nice socks.
Nice socks. I love it. Thank you so much for that, Stephen. And yes, please keep your calls coming in. How do you approach the holiday budget, and how do you keep your holiday budget from getting out of hand? You can call us at 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. And you can also email us at bctoday@cbc.ca. We're speaking with Justin Manning. He's a financial advisor. And Justin, what do you say to somebody that comes to you in the new year and they say, I'm sorry, yeah, I know you told me to keep it under budget, but I overspent. How do I fix this now? What sort of steps can people take once they've gotten into that holiday spending debt and want to get out of it as quickly as possible in the new year?
Yeah, the softer side is addressing, like I mentioned, the behavioral decisions and sort of the behavioral change as to slowing down and actually talking about, is this fulfilling? Does this make you happy? Or are you falling victim to the consumerism that is pushed in our faces and has been not just around the holiday season, but throughout the entire year? So that's a lot of the conversation, is breaking down some of those barriers and creating boundaries for oneself. But a practical tip is what people can do is they can set up automatic credit card payments from their banking. And the way that you would set up the automatic credit card payment is to pay off automatically the amount of balance that is owing that would start to incur interest.
Okay.
So you're not paying off the full balance, but you're paying off the full balance that will start to incur interest. And that way you can stay away from those high interest fees.
All right. Thank you for that. We have another call that's come in from Liz in Victoria. Good afternoon, Liz. Thanks for joining us on BC Today.
Oh, hi. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Yeah, I'm calling in as an individual, but also as a social worker and as the interim chair of the Transit Riders Union in Victoria. I just needed to call in after hearing about that person being isolated from her family. We are advocating, and many people are advocating for transportation options to be offered between communities as part of public transit. And we're also advocating for the elimination of fares on all public transit so that people can move around and meet their needs. I really appreciate the value of talking about budgeting for many people in BC, but for a huge number, like maybe half of the people, any amount of budgeting will not make the numbers work because there's extreme poverty in this province. The provincial government is totally failing to address it. The federal government is failing to provide enough funding to the provincial government to help them address it. Everyone on income assistance and disability in this province right now is expected to pay their rent for $500. And if you're on disability, which is the higher of those two options, your whole check is like $1,400, which is, if you can get rent for that, you're lucky. So how are you supposed to budget when your entire income goes to your rent? You're busting your butt. You're trying to find food. There's no room. So we must have bold action from people. We have to band together as the working class and fight for things to be different.
Liz, I really appreciate you calling in and highlighting that issue. And Justin, we've talked about this at the station. We've talked about it in the news. We are in an affordability crisis, and so many people are facing this. Some of them for the first time in their lives. Many it's years of this unaffordability. When it comes to financial literacy and how we can help people, what are some of the good resources for people right now?
Well, I just wanted to touch on what Liz mentioned too. I think it's important for people who specifically are facing disability, like Liz mentioned, to ensure that they have people around them who are helping them with the disability tax credit, what that looks like, and then also the RDSP, the Registered Disability Savings Plan. Those are two very important tools for people who are in that population group to ensure that they have the information about. And the statistics are quite sad that over 2/3 of those who are eligible for both the disability tax credit and the RDSP do not have them.
Thank you for making that point. We've got time for one last call from Sue in White Rock. Hi, Sue.
Hi. I make plans for the year. Like instead of, I'll give them a little thing in a card, writing, we'll get together sometime in the next few months and we'll go out thrifting and we'll have lunch somewhere, someplace cheap, like, all you can eat for, fish and chips or something like that, a sale day.
I love that.
It'll be a fun day. We could afford it and have fun. And I'm thinking of these people who are really stuck, why couldn't you just have somebody over for a nice lunch, at your house or something, or popcorn and, watch a movie together, make some popcorn, some treats, make some fudge or something, have fun together.
I think that sounds lovely, Sue. Thank you for that tip. And Justin, is that something we need to sort of get into our mindsets a little bit more? We are so encouraged to buy things and spend money. Do we have to have that sort of shift that it's not about the things, that some of the best things do not require a lot of cash?
1,000,000%. It's about presence, not presence. And that's the behavioral mindset change and rejecting the consumerism that is being pushed in our faces. It's not what the majority of us want. And the more that there's a topic called loud budgeting. And that simply means breaking down the walls and talking about how difficult things may be for you and other priorities that you have that are important to you and your family. And so where are things going to need to fall? And this conversation around loud budgeting is exactly that, because the more that you do it, the more you're going to realize the person and the people that you're talking to are feeling exactly the same way as you. And really what everybody wants at the end of the day is that quality time with people.
No, you're right. Justin, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Amy.
Okay, happy holidays. That was Justin Manning, a financial advisor in Metro Vancouver, and you can find him at justinmanning.com. It is 12:21, and this is BC Today. Our Make the Season Kind Food Bank fundraising program last Friday was a huge, huge success. And we'd like to thank all of our guests, performers, and those of you who came to see us in person. Most of all, we're especially grateful for everyone who donated. Funds lasted past the $1 million mark early on Friday, and another $700,000 was added on top of that. The total now stands at $1,767,115. Thank you. This money will go such a long way to the 111 food banks across our province. CBC's annual fundraiser started 39 years ago, and to date, it's raised more than $24 million. Last year, the grand total was $2.4 million, and there's still time to give and possibly surpass that number. Donations are accepted until December 31st. You just have to go to cbc.ca/kindbc, click on Donate Now. Once again, cbc.ca/kindbc, and click on the Donate Now button. You'll receive your tax receipt within hours, and you can also donate by text. Just text KIND to 20222. And as holiday travel gears up, some are worried that their plans could be derailed. Air Transat says it could shut down operations in response to a 72-hour strike mandate issued by the union representing its pilots yesterday. Now, flights scheduled for today will operate as planned for now, according to Air Transat, and they say that progress has been made in negotiations with the union representing its pilots. For more on what this could mean for your travel plans, though, we're joined by Mark Greenwood, a travel agent and the owner of Travel Masters Agency. Hi, Mark. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, how are you today?
I'm doing well. So what is the latest information that you're hearing in the industry?
Basically, what you just said, the pilots have voted in favor of job action. They did give Air Transat 72-hour strike notice, which means they could walk out effective Wednesday. And what we're hearing is that Air Transat will start shutting down operations tomorrow.
Okay.
Because they don't want to have aircraft and crews stranded abroad. So they like to get them back to Canada.
How big of an impact could this have, on travel to and from YVRs? There are a lot of flights that come in and out via Air Transat.
From YVR, the impact is going to be minimal because Air Transat stopped flying to Vancouver many years ago. They do have what's called a code-share agreement with Porter Airlines, which allows them to basically put their flight number on Porter Airlines flights. And they do use that to get people to and from Toronto or Montreal to connect with their services to southern destinations. It doesn't tend to be particularly popular because people don't like having to change planes, especially in Toronto. So people in the West tend to favor options where there's a nonstop flight from here.
Okay. And are you hearing from any clients? I would assume, we're getting into that time of year. People have their travel holiday plans booked. They may have been looking forward to this all year long. Are people kind of panicking, or are people trying to make alternative plans?
People definitely are concerned. Our clients in the East are obviously going to be potentially more greatly affected by this than people in the West. But yes, people that we're hearing from are expressing concern that their holiday plans might be disrupted and they are looking to see if they can make other arrangements.
So what do people need to do? Say they have flights that are booked with Air Transat, or they somehow will be impacted by this. What sort of steps would you recommend somebody take just so they, don't have their plans ruined or don't get stuck somewhere they don't want to be?
If Air Transat cancels their flight, they are entitled to a full refund for what they've paid for. If they are currently in destination and their flight gets canceled, hopefully they've purchased travel insurance, and then they would be able to take advantage of the trip interruption component of their travel insurance, which would basically pay to get them back home. If they don't have insurance, through a credit card or through one of our travel insurance providers, then unfortunately they are potentially going to be on the hook for purchasing and paying for new arrangements to get to where they want to go.
All right. And we saw, earlier in the year, we had issues with Air Canada canceling flights. And, this does seem to come up more often than not now. What is the sense you have, sort of, how are people feeling about air traffic, about air travel, and whether or not this is a possibility that labor unrest could disrupt their travel plans?
It's certainly always a possibility. Contracts are certainly always coming up for renewal with various airlines and whatnot. As you alluded to, we just went through the Air Canada flight attendants. So luckily they've settled, and it would be a few years, I believe, before there will be any labor disruption at Air Canada. WestJet just recently signed an agreement with their pilots, but their flight attendants will be coming out for contract negotiations at some point. So there is always a certain level of uncertainty, but we always hope for an 11th hour deal that will labor disruption. So, but in the period leading up to that, as we've seen in the past, and we will see this week, the airlines do tend to wind down their operations in anticipation of a worst case scenario.
Do you have any sort of sense of whether this situation will be resolved? We heard from Air Transat. They said there has been some progress today. Originally, they had said they were going to start canceling flights today, but that has not happened yet. Do you think they are close to coming to a deal?
It's really hard to say. I mean, we'd all love to be a fly on the wall in that room where the
it would make my job much easier.
Yours and mine.
True.
We are certainly hopeful that that there will be an agreement reached at the 11th hour, which will avoid a strike. And unfortunately, some people are still going to be impacted if Air Transat does decide to lock the pilots out and start canceling flights.
Mark, I really appreciate you taking the time with us today. I know a lot of people, they wake up, they hear news of these issues with any airline, and they immediately start to sort of go to the worst case scenario. So thanks for joining us and going through those steps that people have to take. And hopefully, yes, the situation will be resolved very quickly and people's travel plans won't be impacted.
My pleasure.
Take care. That is Mark Greenwood of Travel Masters. And stick around because we are going to have more on travel in our second half. We're going to look at Canadian travel during the winter, and we'll have an expert for that. But yes, that was travel agent Mark Greenwood of Travel Masters. It is 12:30, and it is now time for the CBC News.
Good afternoon. Officials from the province as well as the City of Vancouver are expected to attend a town hall meeting tonight to discuss the Broadway SkyTrain expansion. The Mount Pleasant Business Improvement Association is voicing concerns as Broadway will be closed at Main Street as part of the next phase of the project. The Broadway subway will see the Millennium Line extended from BCC Clark Station to Arbutus Street, and it's expected to be completed in the fall of 2027. Air Transat passengers might have to make some other travel plans. The airline says that it's beginning to wind down operations, and there could be cancellations ahead of a potential work stoppage by more than 700 pilots. They will be in a legal strike position on Wednesday. And Environment Canada has issued several alerts for highways across BC. Yellow alerts are in effect for the sea to sky due to rain, and drivers are being warned about windy conditions on the Okanagan connector from Merritt to Kelowna. Special weather statements are also in effect for the Coquihalla, as well as Highway 3 from Hope to Princeton due to strong winds. Those are your news headlines from the CBC Vancouver newsroom. For more information, you can go to the website, cbc.ca/BC.
Thank you for that, Darnjeet, and thank you for joining us on CBC Radio 1, CBC Television, and live streaming on the CBC News app, cbc.ca/BC, and on the Vancouver YouTube page. Now, here's a question for the ages. What do you name your pet? There are, of course, traditional names like Spot or Fido or Fluffy. Or are you the type to name them after your favorite aunt or a historical figure? The CBC's Melody Jacobson went to Trout Lake in Vancouver to find out how people name their dogs.
You have two dachshunds here with beautiful sweaters. Eddie Bauer's sweater there with a lovely pattern.
Yes. The rescue had them listed as Dill and Pickle, which is very cute. And their current names are now Dante and Luna. If this dog ran away, what could I call them down the street chasing after them that wouldn't be humiliating? Pickle didn't quite make the cut on that one.
Her name is Lily. Initially we were thinking about Chickpea. But then we realized that maybe it won't be the best fit for her. And a big part was a nickname for Chickpea, which is a bit weird, like pea or chick.
Doesn't work.
Doesn't work. So my partners, which is Lily's mom, her grandfather had a pet pig named Lily. Yeah, she remembered the grandfather's pig. He really loved her, so...
We saw her as a puppy and we knew that was the name. We named her Twiggy partially because of the model, because she's got long legs, but my husband said it was just because she was brown.
Say that one more time.
Nigel and Tilda. Nigel kind of already had his name. The woman we got him from was kind of thinking old school English man. You know, he acts just like it.
Okay.
Look at him. And this...
That's Nigel.
That's Nigel. This one we named after Tilda Swinton.
And from coast to coast, Canada has no shortage of places to travel. And with more and more Canadians hoping to spend the holidays a little bit closer to home, it is time to discover all the hidden gems and iconic spots that make the country so unique. So we want to hear from you. What is your favorite Canadian travel destination, and where in Canada will you be traveling this winter? Call us now. Just hit £690 on your cell phone, or you can call 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. You can also email bctoday@cbc.ca or leave a comment on our TikTok Live. Now, for more on this, we are joined by best-selling author Robin Esrock, whose book, The Great Canadian Bucket List, shows off the best of our country and all of those destinations and activities that really can only be experienced here in Canada. Robin, thanks so much for coming in.
Great to be here.
You have an enviable job traveling around the world and getting to tell people all about it. What makes travel here in Canada so unique?
People underestimate this country. And the key to successful travel is to lower your expectations. So, the higher your expectations and your sense of entitlement, the more disappointed you're going to be.
Fair.
I think as you travel across Canada, it's surprising just how incredible this country is in terms of the unique experiences you can't do anywhere else in the world. That's what my whole career has been built around. And I think, when you go from BC into the Rockies, into the prairies, everything is so different. There are these different ecosystems, these different cultures, all the way to, Newfoundland and Labrador. And as you travel across, you realize that Canada's really 13 countries in one.
Well, and that's what I love about this book, because you break it down province by province, because we do tend to do that. We sort of think of Canada as a whole. And even just, one province over, it's a completely different ecosystem in every sense. And I think people forget that there's so much to learn about our own country. You have explored from coast to coast, as I mentioned. Is there, one incredible place that you think Canadians still don't know about and they really need to?
It's amazing to me how the North is overlooked. We're the Great White North, and Canada. So much of Canada is up in the North, in the territories, and yet so few people get the opportunity to go and explore Yukon, Northwest Territories, Nunavut, and just to experience how incredibly beautiful it is, and sweeping and vast, and the wildlife, and of course we've got Indigenous cultures there. They're so fascinating. I wish everybody could have the opportunity just to go to the North and see what the North is really all about. We're so focused on the southern border tip, and it's really something to see.
And are you seeing sort of a change or a shift in attitudes towards Canadian travel? When you mentioned the border and everything happening south of it, a lot of people are really focusing on staying in Canada and even just staying local in their own province. Is that changing sort of, travel in Canada?
Oh, absolutely. I've seen Canadian tourism evolve. The first edition of my book came out in 2013.
This is the third edition.
This is the third edition. The second edition was in 2017 around Canada's 150, where I really saw an uptick in, let's look in our own backyard. And now we're seeing this huge shift from looking south of the border, snowbirds going south, to looking in our own backyard, supporting all an incredible tourism industry that we have, spending our dollars here, and I think we're already experienced a bumper Canadian tourism summer, and we're going to have a bumper winter, and it's going to continue for the foreseeable future.
Well, and in terms of winter travel, I know a lot of people, traditionally are like, we look at the weather outside today. It's miserable. We've got snow warnings for areas of the province. A lot of people think, I want to get away from this. I want to go somewhere hot, somewhere warm for the winter. And if we're not seeing that this year, if people are going to stay here, how do they prepare for sort of a Canadian winter? We're wet here, but certainly cold and snowy for many parts of the country.
Yeah, I always say you can't do Canada if you can't do cold. And as an immigrant, especially, and that really comes down to how you approach your attitude towards the outdoors in winter, and then the gear that you wear, dressed right. If you're dressed right, it's actually not too bad. And then all of a sudden things open up. Earlier this winter, in February, I did my first multi-day snowmobile trip in Ontario, and I was blown away. It was amazing. It was absolutely such an incredible adventure, such a beautiful part of the world. And I had heated gloves.
Aren't they amazing?
And it was a game changer. I was like, oh my gosh, where have these been my whole life? And they were manufactured from a company in Montreal. I was like, this is so Canadian.
I know.
And it just changed everything for me. And if you have the right attitude and you wear the right clothing, the winters just open up.
Well, and what's not saying? There's no bad weather, just bad coats. So I suppose it is very true. We'd love to have people join our conversation, Robin. They can call us at 1-800-825-5950 or 604-669-3733. Where are you traveling in Canada this winter? And what do you think is the best place to see in Canada? That's 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. What are some hot spots, or not hot spots, but must-see spots in British Columbia that people can get to, quite easily here?
In winter in particular,
Yeah.
I love the Powder Highway. I think that's just totally underrated. The link of ski resorts around the Kootenays, I think it's just beautiful. Everybody thinks about the Rockies as this kind of be-all and the end-all, and the Kootenays is just something else. And the communities are so great, like Fernie and Kimberley, the really great towns with a good vibe and a good atmosphere, great hills. Yeah, I think I'd love people to get out to the Coots more.
I think more people should go to the Coots, yes, for sure. We've got a call coming in from Will in Victoria. Hi, Will.
Hi there.
So where do you think people need to be going in Canada?
Well, I've been all over this country with the RCMP.
Oh, okay.
I live in Victoria, so I'm contractually obligated to say BC.
Fair.
But I love the Maritime. So first thing that pops to my head is Newfoundland.
Oh, lovely, lovely. What are your thoughts on Newfoundland, Robin?
It's the strangest thing, because in BC, everybody wants to go to Newfoundland.
It's true.
And when you go to Newfoundland, everybody wants to come to BC. The thing that I often hear is, why should I visit Newfoundland when I could go to Ireland? And I hear this all the time, as if people are comparing apples to apples.
Right.
And they're not. They're completely different completely different parts of the world, and only one will give you a much better understanding about the country in which you actually live. So if you do have the opportunity to go to Ireland or Newfoundland, I would always say go to Newfoundland first. It is, as everybody out here knows, it's beautiful. Right. And, they a great marketing campaign. Everybody thinks there's sort of red-headed kids running around and
little cable knit sweaters.
Beautiful thing. Amazing things to see and do. And yeah, it just gives you a much better understanding about Canadian culture at the same time.
In terms of Canadian culture, how do you think, when we say, somebody in Ireland might want to come to Canada and we want to go to Ireland, how do you think other people in the world view Canada?
Right now, Canada has a huge opportunity. We're a safe country. We're perceived as safe and friendly, excellent value on the dollar or the euro. Everything that's going on in the South is really pushing a lot of people to think twice about going into the US, and they're looking, they want the same kind of vibe, but they don't want to deal with what's going on with the border security and whatnot. So there's a huge opportunity for Canadian tourism. And, we were once in the top 10 most visited countries in the world. That went away for many years. We kind of slipped out, but we're starting to climb back up. And that's just because of our international reputation, as well as the incredible things that we offer tourists.
All right. We've got a call in from Cody in Trail. Hi, Cody.
Hello, Amy. Hello, Robin. How are you guys? And a very Merry Christmas to both of you.
Thank you for that. So where are you sending people in Canada to vacation?
Well, I heard Robin talking about the East Kootenays, and he gave a shout out to Fernie and Kimberly, but has he been to the West Kootenays?
I have.
Because,
I have.
Yeah. If you haven't been to Rossland, that's the best skiing town, and if you haven't been to Trail, that's the home of hockey because of the Trail Smoke Eaters. So if you want to travel, come down to the West Kootenays because the skiing is great and the hockey is even better.
Well, thank you for that, Cody. Yes, Roslyn certainly has a lot to offer in terms of West Kootenay destinations. Is there anywhere sort of that you have gone in Canada and really been surprised by what you found?
The prairies, for sure, just immediately come top of mind. There's this reputation that you can watch your dog run away for 4 days and there's nothing to see. And if you're doing the Trans-Canada, you can just close your eyes until you wake up in Ontario. There's just amazing things to see around, Manitoba, Saskatchewan. The big muddy Badlands is such an amazing ecosystem with all this rich outlaw history from the US of cattle hustlers. And, I went to Mosaic Stadium to see a Rough Riders game in winter because apparently that's something you got to do.
That is something you do.
There's Canada's Dead Sea in Saskatchewan. We have our own Dead Sea. You can float on your back just like at the Dead Sea. And there's all these interesting things. And of course, the people in the prairies are lovely and earthy and welcoming. We're an underrated country with underrated provinces. The prairies are right up there, and I think New Brunswick is another one of these absolutely underrated provinces that when you explore it, you're like, wow, why aren't there more people?
Everybody here? Yeah. Why is exploring Canada so important to you?
As an immigrant, I feel particularly grateful to live in this country.
And how long ago did you come to Canada?
I've been here 25 years.
Okay.
And I landed without ever having stepped foot in North America before.
Really?
And of course, it takes a South African immigrant to write a best-selling book about Canada. But I happen to make a living traveling around the world. I've reported from 120 countries.
Yeah.
And when people say, what's your favorite country? I always say, hands down, it's got to be Canada.
Really?
This is the most desirable progressive democracy on the planet. People are literally dying to get into Canada. We take it for granted. We don't appreciate what we've got. And take it from me, it is the most beautiful country in the world.
And we are so lucky to be here. And I think we need that reminder every once in a while that we have so much that we have access to. We're just so lucky. And it's so lovely to have somebody see it with fresh eyes sometimes to really make you appreciate that. If somebody did want to start really exploring Canada, but they want to stay away from those sort of big cities, where are one or two of the places that you would send them to first?
I'd say get into a car.
Yeah.
We're made for road tripping. Our road infrastructure is excellent. Even in winter, when things can get a little funky, it's great. The roads are really good. The communities along the roads are serviced. And when you travel by road, you can pull over and just discover and follow your nose. So, whether you've got young kids like I do, or you're empty nester or retirees, whatever, students, get in the car, hit the road and follow your nose. And if you see something that grabs your attention or stokes your curiosity, go check it out.
We did get an email from Mina Lee, and it's to do about trains. So wherever the trains go is where she would recommend. Have you done a lot of travel by train in the country?
Absolutely. I love train
Isn't it
travel.
wonderful?
That's, to my point, to your question about what everybody should do is go north and take the Canadian, take the train from Vancouver to Toronto or vice versa, just to see how this country gets stitched together. It's amazing to look out the window, see the world pass you by. The food is great. It's comfortable. And it's just a wonderful picture, a visual image of the coastal rainforest morphing into the Rockies and the prairies. It's a wonderful way to travel.
Yeah, it really is. And we are so lucky that we have that readily at the availability. We were talking earlier, of course, with the possibility of the Air Transat striking, but we know that this time of year is very stressful for a lot of people when they're traveling, especially if they are traveling with families. You must have a few tricks that you can pass along to people in terms of making holiday travel a little bit easier.
Well, if you're flying, I certainly have some advice, which is stay off the tomato juice, which they serve on every plane everywhere. Stay away from that.
Why?
It's high in sodium.
Okay.
They only serve it because it's so high in sodium you can actually taste it in a pressurized cabin.
Good to
Terrible
know.
for your body.
It's my favorite thing.
It will change your world when you lay off the tomato juice.
Okay.
And wear compression socks. That's another thing. Will absolutely change. You don't know how. It's amazing how they work, but you land and you're like, I feel great. I'm fresh, and my feet aren't bloated, and I don't feel like I just want to crawl under a bed and pass out for 6 months. So that's flying.
No juice, compression socks.
Yeah, generally traveling in high season is difficult.
Yeah.
And I know that many people don't have a choice. And of course, prices go right through the roof. Yeah. If you can rearrange things to go in shoulder season, in spring and fall, it's a very different experience. Crowds come down, prices come down. You tend to have places to yourself. And, we have a lot of a conversation about over-tourism these days, about places that are just so busy. Yeah. And traveling in shoulder season, even if you can just rearrange, I pull my kids out of school a fair amount. My line is I won't let school get in the way of their education. And we have our best travels during the school year when everything's not crowded.
And, I think traveling is such a unique experience for children, and they really do learn a lot by sort of leaving their comfort zone, leaving, their homes and what they're familiar with, and just seeing that there's a whole big world out there that they can explore on their own one day. When did you really get that travel bug? I mean, you said you came here 25 years ago from South Africa. Did you always know that was something that you wanted to do?
No, this was completely unexpected. I was run down by a car on Alberni Street, not too far from here, on my way to the office one day. Car went through a stop sign and took me out on a bike.
Wow.
I got $20,000 from RCBC back in the days when RCBC were paying out personal injury. $20,000, not $2 million, not $200,000, but just enough to make me reevaluate what I wanted to accomplish in my life. And it was enough to make me say, well, I'm going to quit my job, sell everything, and go backpacking for a year.
Wow.
And that led to a column in the Vancouver Sun, and that led to a career in 120 countries later.
Wow. And here you are, third edition of the book. And we actually do have a copy of the book to give away, The Great Canadian Bucket List, third edition, filled with all of the places that you can explore in your own country and broken down province by province. If you do want to win this copy, you just have to email us, bctoday@cbc.ca, and just put Canadian Bucket List, the Great Canadian Bucket List, in your subject line. So yes, bctoday@cbc.ca. We've got a copy of Robin Esrock's The Great Canadian Bucket List. And we still have time if anybody wants to call in, recommend their favorite travel spots in Canada and where you'll be going this winter. 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. That's 604-669-3733. You mentioned we see places that are getting sort of oversaturated in terms of tourism, and we see lots of areas switching. What are some of the biggest changes you've seen in the Canadian tourism industry sort of over the past decade?
Well, we're seeing a lot more Indigenous tourism
Yes.
come to the fore, which is great.
Yeah.
It's one of our best assets, beyond all the scenic beauty that we have, is our cultural beauty.
Yeah.
And we're really seeing people engaging and a lot of interest with Indigenous tourism, which is a wonderful thing. And I always say, you bring people together from different backgrounds. It doesn't matter what it is. When they connect on a unique experience, you quickly realize that we're so similar. It doesn't matter what your background is. And it creates this really meaningful memory.
Right. I thought we had another caller, but certainly we've got plenty of time. So call us at 604-669-3733, 1-800-825-5950. Where do you think we're going to see the travel industry sort of morphing and changing in the next decade or so?
Yeah, people are looking for something a little bit more than beaches and good hotels and great restaurants. That's almost a given now. We want to have a meaningful, powerful, transformative experience. We want to connect with people and culture. We want to connect with the outdoors. So we're seeing a lot more multi-day biking trips and hiking trips. Not stuff where you have to be super fit and an Ironman, and but you can do the East Coast Trail in Newfoundland. Say, when people say, "I want to go to Newfoundland," it's like, what do you want to do there? Why don't you do the East Coast Trail? It's just a string of incredible day hikes along the coast. Where you're encountering these fishing communities and the people and the locals. So you get all that great stuff, but you're also having time to reflect and to absorb. And I think as tourism moves forward, after the pandemic, which just blew everybody out the water, we are seeing this push towards, I want something more. I want to take something more than just a souvenir. I want a memory that will warm me for the rest of my life.
Yeah, and I love that change. Not that, can find a lot of good things about the pandemic, but I do like that shift that people sort of, they just want things that do touch on a deeper level for them. We've got an email from Mara, and she writes, the Kitlope on BC's northwest coast, the heart of the Great Bear Rainforest, home to the spirit bear, grizzlies, black bears, several species of whales, from orcas to fins to now plentiful humpbacks. This area is such an important source of food, as the entire ecosystem is fed by the life cycle of salmon. I am a chef with Maple Leaf Adventures and feel so fortunate to have seen our vast, sensitive coast. I see you nodding in agreement.
Absolutely, great company. They call it the Galapagos of the North.
Yeah.
And I've been to the Galapagos. I've experienced what it's like to cruise around the archipelago and incredible wildlife and this unique ecosystem. And we've got it here in northern BC, around Haida Gwaii, around the, Bella Bella with the spirit bear, the migrating salmon, the biggest black bears on the continent. It's absolutely comparable, for sure. And people come from around the world and they just like, wow, how did I not know that we had our own Galapagos?
Right. It's funny too, when you have people that come in from other countries and they are just, awestruck by what they see in the country. It allows you that chance to sort of see it yourself. I'm a born and raised West Coaster, and I sometimes forget how gorgeous this place is until somebody comes in and says, you've got mountains and the ocean, and I can't believe this. We've got one call coming in from Chelsea in Merritt. Hi, Chelsea. What's your favorite spot in Canada?
Hi. Thanks to chat with you. My favorite spot is the Liard River Hot Springs in northeastern BC. Especially in the wintertime, not only do you get a natural hot spring, but you get to see some wildlife as well as a chance to see the northern lights. And it's just one of those magical experiences that you just don't get anywhere else.
No.
Takes your breath away.
Sounds incredible, Chelsea. Thank you for sharing that. Before we let you go, is there any sort of predictions of hot spots in Canada? What do you think is really going to take off next?
Where's it going to take off next? The interior has always been fantastic in BC. And like I said, we're seeing a lot more people coming to BC from the east and people from the west going out east. Prince Edward Island is super popular right now. I'm hearing a lot of people booking that Maritimes trip. They're going to fly maybe to Halifax or Charlottetown and do PEI, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick. Absolutely, whatever you're thinking, they call it the drive-through province. I'm like, no. Trust me, once you discover it, you're going to want to stick around much longer. So I think, the Maritimes are going to be very, very popular. Our road trips are absolutely popular. The north, going up to Yellowknife. I mean, we're entering, of course, aurora watching season. It's
Yes.
the best place in the world to see it. I was just there a few weeks ago, and the lights were incredible. So yeah, you can't really go wrong. You just got to do it.
You do, and there's just too many places. We can't get to them all, but it's so great to speak with you. Thank you so much. That is Robert Esrock, author of the national bestseller, The Great Canadian Bucket List, and we have a copy of the book to give away. Just email us at bctoday@cbc.ca and tell us your favorite place in Canada. And it really is beginning to look a lot like Christmas. In Surrey, volunteers wrapped thousands of gifts and packed hundreds of food hampers. They'll be delivered to several inner city schools around the Lower Mainland and into the hands of families in need. We stopped by for a look behind the scenes of all the holiday action, so check it out.
Found out from the school board actually that there was kids in our community that many of them aren't getting a gift for Christmas. So we decided that we're going to put some gifts together. So they are assembling gifts right now, putting them in boxes, and then they're taking them to the wrapping station. They're wrapping it all, and then they're taking them to the pallets, and we're putting it in schools.
Me and my mom have been going here ever since I was 4 years old. It really just fills my heart to know that I'm actually making a difference. I love the atmosphere of people here, and seeing all the people here serving, it really warms my heart because there's a lot of good people who do a lot of good things.
I would love to be here for the community, to help help people.
You know, the community need is really getting a lot more desperate, and we are in very challenging times.
The need is there, and it's just so nice to see so many people coming together to make sure that all families have a happy Christmas.
I just want kids to know that we see them and that we care, and these families to know that we're not alone.
Well, that just warms up your heart on this cold and rainy day. And that is it for our show. Thank you so much for calling in and joining the discussions. You can always email us, bctoday@cbc.ca.